Hello and welcome. This is Reanimated. It's just a podcast. It's about zombies, guys. It's nothing to be stressed out about. My name's Stuart and I'm in California. Joining me from New York is H.A. Conrad, the serene H.A. Conrad.
Always serene. Hello.
Placid, unruffled.
Yep, that's me.
How you
I'm
doing
not
today?
unruffled though.
Oh, you wait, what?
I don't think I'm unruffled. I'm like ruffled. Kind of like ruffles have ridges.
Delicious.
We're pretty good. How are you? How are you?
I haven't had ruffles in at least a year, and that's weird because I love ruffles. I think I understand why though, because it's
Yes.
probably not good for you.
No.
But yeah, I guess I don't go out of my way to buy ruffles.
So yeah, I'm one of those people that puts the potato chips on the tuna fish sandwich. So
Huh.
it's not always ruffles, but often it is because those are like kind of the best from a texture and salt
Yeah.
sort of
Shame
thing.
about the tuna fish being on the sandwich to begin with, but
Well, are you, you're not a tuna fish fan?
I like raw tuna, or like a seared tuna steak, but nah, tuna
No, no,
fish,
not
that
your thing.
cold canned,
Thing.
no
I think
thank
you
you,
have
sir.
to, it's a Gen X staple for the lunchbox, I suppose. So, which is really weird if you think about it. Like it shouldn't have been because that seems like a really bad idea. But it was. Anyway.
The longer my kids are in the American public school system and like into middle school, I'm realizing I have very little points of reference for what they're going through because I did
Oh yeah.
not. I
Yeah.
was only in the US for first and second grade
I think
until high
it's
school.
also very different now. So,
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is, but like I remember in first and second grade, my favorite day of school, this is in outskirts of Chicago at the time, it was McDonald's Day where we would get McDonald's at school.
there's a McDonald's Day?
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe when I don't know, maybe before that was considered to be terrible.
Hmm.
It was one day a year.
We did not have. Oh, okay. So it wasn't like a weekly thing.
Nah,
Yeah, no, we didn't. I mean, we had our So our this is a very much a Northeast thing, but Wednesday was ski day in the wintertime. So you
that's insane. Like just the whole day?
no, you'd go up at like lunchtime and or you'd have lunch and then go up.
How
And
far was the mountain or the ski lift from your school?
it's in the ski town, like it's right there. So
Okay.
I'll get the buses, go up, and then they'd try to do like, oh, you have to be with like a ski lesson, but then you just kind of could do your own thing the rest of the day. And yeah, it was really fun. And his favorite thing is going up and you go on a trail. And they always had these little kind of these little like snack shacks things, and that had like the best French fries, and like it was good. So you'd go up there and hang out with your friends.
This was in what grades?
Pretty much it's everybody. Like K through.
They
Um,
had K kids just going up on the mountain by themselves.
well, no, those kids get like skiwi, I think is what it was called.
Okay,
Like
so
the little.
they would be corralled, but then the older
Those kids
kids
would be
would kind
corralled.
of
I think you stop being corralled, but like I think definitely like fifth, sixth grade, I was definitely we were all on our own, just doing our own thing. Gen X, dude. Amazing.
wild. Yeah,
Um,
so far from my experience.
yeah, so and that's the thing. I didn't, you grew up and that's like your normal, so you don't think that when I've talked to other people about this, they're like, that's like the weirdest thing I've ever heard. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And I don't ski anymore because it's expensive and I don't like to be cold, but it was definitely a weird and cool thing. Unique thing growing up there. So um yeah,
What an experience.
yeah. So anyway, I don't know about how that compares to McDonald's Day, but it definitely was a thing.
I think it sounds a lot cooler than McDonald's Day once a year.
Yeah.
Like every Wednesday for several months, you're just going up on the hill. Why weren't you on the university snowboard team?
I didn't pretty much stopped skiing slash doing whatever until like pretty much right after high school because it's really expensive and you have to like and even like I used to think it was expensive then and I was on like a student budget but it's crazier it got crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
And so it just becomes a sport that like you don't, and when you're home for a limited amount of time. And the thing about like this is the thing about skiing in Vermont, maybe especially, is that the weekends are so crowded that that's not enjoyable. Part of the fun of doing that when you were a kid is that it was midweek and so the mountain was kind of empty. So
Hmm.
it was really fun that way. Um, but yeah, so I haven't in a really long time. I know this sounds crazy, but as an adult, I became much more worried about like catastrophic injuries, and I'm not a coordinated person. So the likelihood of that is more, especially if you haven't been skiing for a really long time, is like the odds are not in my favor. So I think that was part of it too.
The average, I don't know what the average cost is. I mean, Tahoe is my closest ski area here from where I am. It's 5 hour drive, which is inconvenient. And then it's like $250 for a lift pass for one day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just
And then you do the rentals, and then like if you actually stay up there, it's
you,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. It's so it doesn't pencil out.
Yeah.
However, this is not a show about our childhood or our skiing adventures. We're here to talk about zombies. Today, we're talking about a film called Forgive Us All, and we've got some news.
Yeah.
Some of it good, some of it not so good.
Some of it, I don't even know how I feel about it, but it sounds like Maniac Cop is getting a remake. And that is crazy to me, but it sounds like they're doing it.
Yeah,
What do
and
you
we
think about
reviewed Maniac Cop many, many years ago now. Uh, but we enjoyed that film. I mean, it had
it?
Bruce Campbell in it, who we're also
Of course.
talking about today, as well as other actors, and had some good performances. And it was actually filmed in New York at the time, which I think is less possible to do, perhaps, for that kind of cheap film made on a shoestring.
Yep. Now, this is the thing, though. This was supposed to be a series, and there's been kind of like back and forth for, I want to say, like at least like 7 to 10 years, maybe. I mean, they have been talking about this for a very long time. And so I don't think that that sounds like that's what they're doing. They're going to do an actual film. And I don't, and so but the director is going to be Nicholas, um, oh, what is it? He's got a like, it's his last name is Refn, Refn, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you say that.
Winding Refn. And he's the person that directed Drive. And so and then the original director, he's going to be involved. I think he's producing, and so he's definitely consulting on this. So, I mean, they've got people involved as um part of the like secret sauce, I guess, that will make this. So I think that that's pretty good.
I'm a little
I don't,
bummed that John Hyams is not
yeah.
potentially not associated with this anymore, since he was the guy behind Black Summer.
Yeah. That's a little bit, yeah. So, and then the other question is how, because like when they filmed this, they filmed this in some pretty, like they filmed this all in New York. I just don't know how they do it. So we'll see. We'll see
I
how
mean, they
this
can
goes.
find a new location for it.
Maybe. But the grittiness of it was kind of, part of it. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I think it would be interesting to see if they do it and how they pull it off. And so anyway, more to come on that, and we'll certainly be updating as we see updates come through. But I don't think it's supposed to be filming until later this year.
If you think about the meta plot of Maniac Cop, which
Yeah.
was that this guy was a Serpico type of cop, he was an anti-corruption cop who was murdered, and then reincarnated as a revenge-seeking zombie
Hmm.
cop. I feel like that sort of storytelling is ripe for being retold. Anyway, so we mentioned Bruce Campbell, and that he is also in the news this week because he made an announcement, kind of getting out ahead of scuttlebutt, perhaps that
Yeah, and honestly, I actually it was an announcement exactly on brand and in the like how I would expect it.
yeah,
And he was just like, you know. it's treatable but not curable, and some things have to change. And I want to get ahead of rumors. I don't want advice or sympathy or something like that. It was very Bruce Campbell, which I actually really appreciated. But I really hope that it's that we have him around for a long time. But it sounds like they have a treatment plan in place, so hopefully that all works out. But really, yeah, sort of a he had to cancel some appearances, so I think he did not want there to be this like kind of rumor mill going around.
That
So
makes sense.
yeah, and he has some movie coming out, I think, which is a comedy, and I think that's part of he was doing the rounds for that. I do not think it's horror. I don't know what it is. Ernie and Emma, I think is what it's called.
I am not
Sure about
familiar.
that. Let me make sure I'm right about that. Or Emma and Ernie, not Bert and Ernie.
And Ernie and Emma is coming out this year.
Ha, there you go. Hey, my brain kicked in for a moment there. Yeah.
Widowed pear salesman Ernie Tyler travels to scatter his wife's ashes.
Okay, so yeah,
Doesn't sound like a comedy per se,
it
but
does
maybe.
not actually. So okay, let's see how that goes. Anyway, that is the Bruce Campbell news, and then the Don't Die Didn't Die trailer.
Yeah, which I feel like maybe we've mentioned before. I think we
Yeah,
were
I
aware
think
that
we
there was a
have.
podcast-based zombie movie coming out. Do we have a release date for this? It's certainly getting reviewed this week. It got in Roger Ebert and
Oh,
Bloody Disgusting.
It was released yesterday.
Okay. In screen on screens or
Unclear. Um,
okay.
so yeah.
It's directed by a director who
Mira.
did one episode of The Walking Dead in season 9, Mira Menon.
Hmm.
And yeah, her husband is the film's co-writer and cinematographer. It does, just looking at the trailer, it does look like it's not a super expensive film, but I mean, I don't know. I will withhold my obviously judgment until we can see it.
Yep.
And I don't know how we will be able to see it yet.
Well, we will figure it out. I have a feeling this is going to be available streaming fairly soon.
Yeah.
And we'll certainly check that out. Um, on to our review recap of Forgive Us All, which is a New Zealand zombie film. And
Yeah,
this
this
one,
film, it's is it I mean, yes, it was shot in New Zealand, but it's mostly got Australians in it. Is Jordana Stott New
I
Zealander or an
don't
Australian?
know. But it was filmed on location in New Zealand, but
Yes,
definitely going for a Western vibe.
but
And
not like an American one. It's yeah,
no,
it's
no,
a
no, like
Western
it's like
style.
a
Yeah.
Western style vibe. Um, and I'm excited to talk about this with you. Has a pretty good cast. And and there's some good things and definitely some things that I'm like, oh, this would have been. I wish they had tightened this up a little bit or had a little different direction. I would actually term this more as a contagion film versus a zombie film, but still happy to chat about it with you. And I like the I was looking trying to find the budget for this thing.
10 million New Zealand dollars,
Okay.
whatever that means. What is that?
And it's like 4.3 million pounds, like British pounds. So I don't know what that would equate to. But it was all shot in Queenstown, New Zealand. So let us get into it. Um, but so it starts off like in a pretty heart-wrenching way, and I will say I kind of already knew that this could be a really rough thing, and they do a little, they want you to draw conclusions and they do a lot just with the set and with what's going on. And the main character, Rory, is we kind of see her, not kind of, we see her burying somebody, and she's kind of all blood spattered, and we have all this sort of set design that you can tell like there's a kid involved. And so I mean, I think you're like there you can kind of see um they're setting the table for something devastating just right from the first scene. And I thought that the set was really impressive and cool. I thought that the shots of this were pretty cool. What did you think about it?
Are we talking about production overall or just this first scene at
All
the
overall,
house?
but I just think that especially the house and the sort of
This
the
house
thing.
is the main set, I
Yeah.
guess. Is that and then wilderness.
Hmm.
I think given how few sets they had, and then they have a bunch of locations outside, and obviously it's New Zealand, so you can't really go wrong
Yeah.
with pointing your camera in any direction. Yeah, this house is, then it's like a house in a barn, and then the interior feels like the same kind of cabin that the outside looks like. So yeah, I think it's a really good set and location. It it doesn't necessarily feel like this house would have survived the type of zombies that are living out here with them
Yes, so
per
that's
se.
definitely something I want to talk about with you
Yeah.
because
Because it's
the
like it's
it
not like a fortress, it's just a
no,
cabin.
it's a cabin, and it's a cabin with like pretty, like it's not a fortified cabin, you know? Even a log cabin feels like it would have a little more heft. This does not. It feels very weathered, very just not. I mean, it's certainly constructed well enough that it's kept them safe.
Yeah, they've put wood on the windows, but on the inside
Right.
of the glass. So I feel like the glass would have been broken by the like these
Right.
zombies know how to operate. Like they know where doors are. They know how to. They seem smart.
Manage things. Yeah.
They seem kind of smart, at least based on the interaction they have in the stable later. That one sees them through the
Yep.
window and runs for the door. It doesn't come through the window, right? Like
Right.
so,
Which you would expect.
which you never know with what the canon's going to be. Yeah, I just feel like the cabin could have been a little bit more armored up somehow, but that's a pretty small nitpick. Otherwise, they had like a broken down old Jeep. They got solar panels. They have a nice butcher block that gets used
Yep.
later on. Yeah, I like this set. And inside, Maddie's room is really nice. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean the whole setting generally, this is um in sorry, Queenstown, is that where it is? Yes.
I think that's where. Yep.
Um and like it's very mountainous, and they do the in terms of what their decisions were in terms of filming this, it's just really desaturated, that kind of dusty, yellowy western look. Like you know, but it still looks like gorgeous landscape, and this little cabin just is on its own out there, like a little oasis, kind of hidden away in the foothills. So um, I really um, as horrible as sort of the the theme of this movie is, it's still like the landscape itself was really cool to look at, and it was a cool thing, a cool setting to have everybody in. So
Yeah, there's actually, it's kind of I feel like it's a little tropey that the two of the people involved in this film that I think really ratcheted it up a few levels are Lord of the Rings alumni,
I know,
and that's the I think the cinematographer, or there's a guy who like figured out their locations.
yeah,
And I forget who that was, but I was reading about it in the filming. Um, yeah, Jared Conan was location manager for the Lord of the Rings, and that those river scenes that happen in the first act are straight
hmm,
up
oh yeah,
from that, right? And then they also have Weta Workshop doing their zombies, and their zombies are amazing and also very reminiscent of goblins from from like The Hobbit, the
yeah,
way they move, but they move great, and like it's a compelling performance. And but I do feel like those two individuals potentially made this film way better than it
yeah.
might have
No,
been otherwise.
it looked amazing
Yeah.
for sure.
And like the story behind how they made this film is also kind of fascinating. Like it's a husband and wife who they were like, "Hey, you know what? We're a young couple. You know what I want to do? I want to make a feature film, but I can't do that." Okay, so let's start a business. So they start a business of like prepackaged meals, and then they operate that business for several years, and then they sell it for 100 and something million Australian dollars. And then they're like, okay, now we're gonna make our movie. Like the just the story of going from like making a very successful business just to pay for
Yeah.
making a film is kind of a wild tale to tell about how this movie got made. But then they just made it themselves basically, and they were able to get a couple of recognizable Australian actors in, like Richard Roxburgh and Logan Callan Mulvey, who's been in a bunch of MCU stuff.
Yep.
Otherwise, I didn't recognize anybody else. But
Yeah, but Lily Sullivan is apparently in like a lot of the different like horror films. So this is certainly a genre that she's worked in. And though I didn't recognize her, but I thought she was really great. She was in this film called Evil Dead Rise. Looks really creepy. Yeah, but I thought she was really great in this. And overall I thought the cast was pretty good. A little thin in terms of I don't know what you want to call them, the mercenaries or whatever,
the
the
Gema agents.
Jimas. Yeah.
You know what I liked about this was well, it helped that I'm a huge fan of The Last of Us. And so these guys are basically Fedra plus a couple more years, or Fedra in Boston plus a few more years. And I actually love the way that they did this part of the storytelling was they're like, there are these camps, and we figure this out through like environmental storytelling. There's like a radio show on at one point that she's listening to, and then there's
Yeah.
some other things being talked about. We never see these camps that they're coming from. We don't see this big city or whatever it is that people were put into after the zombie apocalypse or the
Mm.
howler apocalypse or whatever there it was. But it's clearly so bad in the camps that and so the Jima agents are basically Fedra, and they are, you know, quote unquote murdering people, and they're controlling the populace, and they have preferential treatment inside the camps based on their actions, keeping the populace in line. And that is all pretty clear throughout the film, but we never even see them in their environment. So I thought that was pretty well done.
Yeah. But we know enough about them because it's this, yeah, you kind of learn through other like not direct ways, which I thought was pretty cool. And then also set dressing, so you see just little signs and
Yeah, there's some
things like
signs, there's
that.
that radio broadcast. And, you know, considering it's a fairly small cast for this film, there's more zombies than human actors, that's for sure, which you would
Right.
probably want in a zombie film.
Right.
There's only three of these Jima agents who appear in the film, plus Rory and Otto, her father-in-law, and the two brothers whose names I'm completely forgetting for some reason. It's Noah, and I don't know what his brother was named.
Yeah, I don't know his brother's name either. But also most like quite a few of these actors had some role in either like The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, which was kind of funny.
I mean,
So
I feel like if you're a New Zealand actor, could
maybe you've
you?
been, maybe everybody's been in. Maybe it's like
Yeah,
Harry Potter in the UK.
it's like Harry Potter in the UK or Game of Thrones, or you know,
Yeah,
in New York, it's probably like Law and Order.
Law and
Everybody's
Order,
had
yeah,
to
for
filter
sure. And
through
The Americans also, that was the
yeah.
a ton of people were in.
But so it's a small movie in like in terms of the number of scenes or locations they shoot at. Like this, what's interesting is in the first act, she's at this river where she finds Noah's body, and then it cuts to her dad, or sorry, father-in-law Otto, and he's in the same valley, maybe just upriver or down. Like it's so recognizably just a little ways away. Like
Yep,
they're pretty close to one another. I thought that was like
yep,
kind of funny
agree.
because the mountains are very distinctive. Like you're like, oh wait, no, that's the same snow-capped peaks that were in the background of the last shot. So they have a relatively small number of different locations, a relatively small cast, but it's quite a compelling story nonetheless because they have this female character who is racked with she's
Guilt,
despondent.
grief.
Yeah, guilt and grief and basically wants to end it all. That's the first thing she does in the film is bury her husband. The second thing she does is kill her zombie kid. Like, come on.
Which she continually has PTSD flashbacks about, which is
And
how
I
they
guess
show it.
Lily Sullivan has talked about how challenging this role was because there's not really much of an upside to Rory,
Right.
except that her dramatic um, tale is that she's found something to live for, even if it is only for a little while.
Right.
That's a bleak place to start and
It's pretty
end.
bleak. Yep.
So I'm feeling for Lily Sullivan and in the way I mean, they shot this also in 27 days. So luckily she didn't have to sit with this character for too long.
Right. This was a pretty quick shoot.
Yeah.
Um, but limited sets and all of that. So, I liked I did like how they didn't try to spoon feed you this, although I did see a couple of reviews where people were really mad about that. They were like, you don't know anything until like halfway through the film, and it's like, well, it's a zombie film, so I think you can kind of
Oh God,
draw
yeah. The
those
context clues are
conclusions.
all over the place. What do you
I
need?
mean, it's not exactly like it's pretty easy to gather like to guess what's
And
happened.
there's like again, there's more of this like environmental storytelling. There's little pamphlets on the walls
Mhm.
that the camera pans past. It's like, oh, know the symptoms, and yeah, like it's and there's a improvise, adapt, and overcome plaque on the wall too. That is apparently Otto's heritage. That was the thing in the trailer. I remember when I saw this trailer, I was like, "Where is this set?" I don't understand the accents because Richard Roxburgh is playing, I think, a Scotsman who's been living in New Zealand for a long time because his accent is kind of a little
It
difficult to
is
pin
weird.
down.
Yeah.
Everybody else is fairly Australian with their accents, as far as I could tell. I'm not great at distinguishing the difference between New Zealand and Australian, which is embarrassing to admit, but it is what it is. I mean, it's no Flight of the Conchords, which is very
No,
clearly
and
New
that's
Zealand.
incredibly
So
New Zealand.
they don't have broad accents.
No.
But the accents that I am hearing are mostly Australian. So this film, it has good relationships built between Otto and Rory, even though he's not introduced right away in the cold open. I find their relationship is believably paternal.
Yep, agree.
Uh,
There's nothing weird about it.
yeah, because mostly because he keeps calling her kiddo.
That too, but there's just not, they don't have that vibe, which they don't have like a creepy vibe.
No.
And there's also an incredibly protective aspect of what he's doing. He's just very, worried about even like when she's going for the walk, and he's just always kind of cautioning her to not go too far, and he's clearly worried about her and protective, but not overly so. It's not like he's following her out there. Otherwise, he would have seen what state of mind she was in. But um,
Yeah, that was a pretty near thing
yeah, um,
because she's constantly trying to kill herself is also
yeah,
part of it. Oh, not constantly, but I guess twice in this film she tries to, or she's getting fixing to kill herself.
yeah.
Uh, Honestly, saved by that horse who
Mhm.
I feel like the horse should have been named and it was kind of just roughly abandoned in the beginning of the third act of the movie, which was kind of too bad because the horse has a lot of personality as an actor.
It does. And it
Uh,
also adds in this element that you're thinking, and it's this, at least one of the characters says something like, "Oh, you still have a horse," to Otto, because obviously, based on the things and the things that characters have been saying and we've been seeing, it would be a lot to maintain a horse in this particular environment, and especially the danger of the infected getting to them because of the noise. And we even see what happens in this film when the horse is making noise, that the infected are attracted to that, and it makes it risky. So that was I don't know. I thought that was like that was a cool element to have in this with the horse. So
yeah, I guess maybe a question I have about the concept of these undead, these howlers or whatever they are. They seem to eat things, people. We don't see them eat horses, but I
Mm,
think based on the context clues, we can assume they eat everything.
right, because the deer
They,
are all gone and
the
things
deer
like
are all
that.
gone.
He
He's like,
named them.
Otto's having trouble finding rabbits,
Hmm.
and they, and maybe they stop attacking humans once they've been bitten. There is something to that leads you to think that in the third act, but also she's been pouring that stuff all over herself. So it's I feel like it's, six of one, half dozen of the other, could be either one. But
Right.
they so how do they keep making new zombies if they're eating them? Like we see the remains of people who've been eaten, like completely eaten. Otto finds the
Yeah.
body of a guy named Henry, or at least someone who's carrying Henry's knife, and it's eaten down to the bone. And so I'm curious, like, okay, after they bit him the first time, why didn't they stop? And they also go after another downed human or dead human corpse later in the film. Did you come away with some sort of understanding about the way they operate?
No, I mean, I think maybe if something is kind of like freshly killed, they'll go for that. I think they're attracted to the blood, is what I'm gathering. And, um, you know,
Smell is for sure their biggest
right,
sense.
right.
But like I'm just not sure if the idea behind the sickness is that it wants to spread like Cordyceps does in Last of Us, like it's that sort of deal, or if they're zombies who want to eat brains or bodies. But then if that's the case, if they are just eating everything and eating, gobbling it up, then there should be not so many of them.
Right. And so that was kind of weird. And then it's also not clear to me in terms of like you can do the guts thing, which they do to kind of like avoid detection, but and then, it's like a hard it's hard to determine exactly what the rules are, but I think to me it's the smell and the blood that's the biggest attraction for them, maybe.
What? Yeah. So another nitpick I have in the first act of this film is we get introduced to Noah and his brother. They look very similar, but I don't think they're actually related. Um, and so Noah is riding away from these three pursuers, or two pursuers at first. And his brother meets him at the forest and he's like, "Oh, you've been shot. Go on, get out of here. I'll slow him down." And he shoots into the air a few times to like
Yeah.
just to attract the baddies instead of just shooting them off their horses, which I would have thought would be the easier thing to do before they know you're coming. I just think both he and Otto later both get so easily flanked and killed. And Otto, in theory, is like a veteran. And so I'm very disappointed in the tactics of how Otto chose to go out.
Yeah.
But I think also Noah's brother did something, like went out in a kind of a dumb way. Even if it was
Yeah.
noble and he did enable his brother to get away, it just felt like he could have done it a lot smarter. And so I
Agree.
wish they'd come up with a way to make him seem a little more capable.
Yeah,
And
agree.
I would extend that criticism to how that scene with Otto went out too, because he basically accomplishes nothing. And he's this tough bad guy. He's like a bad dude, right? He's not a bad guy, he's a good guy. But he like his scene is like he's not even that weapon he has in his hand isn't even loaded when or maybe he's just topping it up when he's vamping on the porch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
And
don't
then
know.
he trades shots with Scout, the female Jima agent, while Logan flanks him. So Jima knows how to do this, but apparently Noah's brother and Otto have no idea.
Well, like that was the thing with Otto though. It's like that was something that I don't know about Noah's brother, but Otto seems like he has some knowledge of these things. He's got this flak vest, he's been surviving this long.
Yeah.
I like his decision to hide where he does feels a little weird. And I know he's trying to kind of draw their attention away from the barn, and that was part of it.
But also in doing that, he's failed because he doesn't come out on the porch until after one of the Jima agents
Right.
has already gone to the barn. So
Right.
he's late.
Right, he's
And
late. Even though he already had his little system and I don't know.
he
It's
had
just
a 2 minute warning, and his weapons should be loaded. Like this is a guy, he is a veteran. Like he's the plaque with that phrase. That's just a classic sort of, military. It's a U.S. Marine slogan, but I imagine it's also something that you would find in the British military, the improvise, adapt, and overcome thing. And he's got the tattoos. So I feel like he is a guy who has this knowledge, but they don't. You know what? This production probably did not have a military advisor, and that's 100% okay.
yeah, I would guess. But they also had to like do something to make it, I don't know, exciting. I guess I just was hoping for a little bit more in terms of the confrontation with Otto because
Yeah.
he is like very much like this kind of incredibly competent and smart and I don't know. It just felt like a little disappointing in that this is how it went out. I also have to say that the way his brother and the whole thing with the Jima agents and the electric shock, the shock baton or whatever they're using.
Yeah.
They do this twice and they do this again. I don't know, it's just kind of dumb
It's
to
a little
me.
repetitive once you get to
Um
Otto, and there's I mean he's getting shocked after he's or to death and then after
yeah.
he's dead,
Yeah.
which is really just, driving it home that Logan's a psycho.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's probably the point. And then
Hmm.
obviously they want you to have that payoff at the end, where the tables get turned on him. But I just thought that that was kind of too repetitive and not just repetitive, but each scene with using this like baton is like too long. It's like so dumb. So that was those were a little bit of the drawbacks for me. I don't, and Logan's motivation in terms of like, oh, they're gonna hurt our families and whatever, doesn't seem to wash with his behavior. So that's um that's kind of odd to me.
Yeah, the choice
Um,
that they make here with the story, and I'm talking about Otto's scene now, where he basically exchanges rounds with Scout and then gets flanked and killed, and then Scout decides after Logan says, "Okay, we got to go after them. They've got the antidote, which is the gizmo that they need to recover so that they don't lose their privileges back at camp." She says, "No, I'm done with this lifestyle," or something along those lines. And he's like, "No, you have to come or else." And she says, "No, I'm not doing it." And he gets kind of mad, gets up in her face, but then ultimately runs off to get his
right.
horse to chase them. But what they could, I mean, it's like, what is the trade-off? You have this GMA agent saying, "No, I'm tired of being a bad guy," versus having her be killed by Otto to show that he is at least a little bit competent. I feel like I don't know which I would have preferred. It's nice to know that not all the Jima people are total douches, and she's like, "No, I'm not going to do this anymore." But we know she has family back in the camp, so I'm not sure how this is going to play for her, right?
Right.
I don't know. What would you think it would have been better for her to be killed by Otto or
I don't
by
know.
the way
It,
it actually shook out?
it's hard to know because I don't know that she's going to necessarily go back to the camp. I don't even know what the
It
end of her
doesn't sound like
plan.
she's going to have great options if she does go back.
Right. So
The camp
I don't
sounds
even
like it's
know.
full of rioters and like it's actually not super safe.
Right. So yeah, that's the um like there's a few loose endings here and that was one of them. I didn't know if they were gonna somehow bring her back in a different way. I don't know. Just felt like weird. But at least Logan didn't kill her, which was sort of surprising.
A little surprising. That's what I was thinking too. Like, because they didn't develop their relationship. He'd already given her a lecture on one other occasion when she was like, "I don't think we should go after him because it's going to be dark out." And
Right. And then and then they like talk about doing things like, oh no, we're gonna do it, but then they actually don't go after people until like or they don't do what the things that they say they're
they
gonna
spend
do.
all night outside. But I'm a little bit curious how they survived. If being outside at night is so dangerous, like
Right.
Otto basically drinks himself to sleep, and Rory attempts to sleep through the night in the house, locking themselves in their little fortress of safety.
Mhm.
But the GMA agents effectively spend all night outside and have no problem.
Right.
They also
So
have an incredibly advanced thermal imaging thing, which I thought was pretty cool, honestly. But
Yeah, I did think
I
that
don't
was
think that
cool.
that kind of thing is necessarily easy to get your hands on.
Yeah.
But that's how they find because they see the horse and then they see Rory and Noah and Otto inside the cabin.
They do the heat thing or whatever, but this cabin is kind of like that's the other thing. It's like in the middle of nowhere, but I guess they use their heat technology and all that, but the lights are on. So that's also a thing too, where it's like not exactly hidden, right? But and that seems like it would have attracted the infected too. So, and the way you look at this cabin, the way it's constructed, it's also it doesn't seem super solid. Like it feels like very like I don't want to say thrown together, but like the wood looks just sort of like not super high quality, right? It almost feels like there's like even space between the boards. So, obviously it's been there and it's survived, but it does not feel like a place that would be helpful to make a stand either against the infected or against the Jima people. So,
Which is not, I think, its intended purpose. It's supposed to be out of the way, like to be
right.
left alone, right? Because that's what they have their off the grid lifestyle that they're doing okay with. They clearly were not expecting or hoping to get into a protracted sort of gunfight.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, Otto doesn't even try to like do his shootout from inside the house, which would have increased his survivability. He walks
Mhm.
outside with his gun, still loading it while he does some tough guy talk.
Yep.
We've already had the scene where we meet our first zombie, which, as we described, it acts in ways that I wouldn't ascribe necessarily to zombie behavior, like grabbing Rory's throat with its hand through the door,
Ooh, yeah.
which was scary. And I think Noah basically scares it off with by shooting at it.
Hmm.
Weirdly, that rifle shot does not wake up Otto.
Nope, nor does it attract other infected.
That is curious, isn't it?
Hmm. And yeah, and the other thing I wasn't clear on here because I thought she had closed that door and secured it before she came in, but suddenly it was open again.
I don't
So,
know that she did. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she
yeah.
doesn't look inside the stall before she unlocks that. And you can see there's space through the wood slats. Like she could have looked into the stall to see if Noah was still lying down because he's been shot. Like
Right.
he is a little bit magical in this film. I mean, I know he does act wounded a lot of the time. He's basically wounded for the entire film, right? He's shot even before we meet his character. But
Yep.
his capabilities seem to come and go a little bit.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
he basically jumps on her, but then we learn it's because there's a zombie right outside, and then he's helps her fend it off. But then they have to go inside, and what's crazy to me is she never gives him first aid when she brings him to into the barn.
No.
He's got a gunshot wound in his torso. She doesn't do anything for him. I think she's like
Later on,
partially this is
later on, she's like, we should pack that.
yeah, I feel like partially this is self-preservation because he could be infected, but like, yeah, maybe she's hoping he'll die in the barn because I don't know. Like that was a bit of a weird choice. But then later, exactly, she's like, yeah, your wound is probably something that you should deal with.
Hmm.
That's a you problem.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, all she does is really give him water and then pack his bullet wound with gauze. And then the next day, Otto has to do one of those. I always attribute this to the movie Three Kings because that's where I saw it. The Mark Wahlberg Iraq War movie with George Clooney. Do you remember
Hmm.
that film?
Yes. Which one? That was a yeah.
Yeah, it's an okay movie.
Yeah.
Uh, but he has one of those little tubes in his
Yep.
chest also.
Hmm.
Super gross. I dislike scenes like that as much as I dislike tracheotomies in film, but by God, writers love those things, and so
They
they put them
do.
in.
They always seem to love the pneumothorax. So there you go.
Super gross.
Yep.
But it's not too protracted. It's just a really long needle getting pounded into a guy's chest. And then so what we've learned is he has this this antidote. It's for his son. We start to see the wheels turning in Rory's head, and we understand that the clock here is a 72-hour clock from infection. What I don't understand is how he and his brother got from Miller's flat all the way to the camp and back in 2 days. Not back all the way, but got outside of the camp. And they didn't, I don't know what their means of travel were
Right.
for how they got there. And maybe it's a straighter, shorter route from, than if you pass out on your horse and your horse takes you closer to Rory's cabin. Maybe there would have been a quicker way to get there, but it does feel like they've managed to pull off this heist very quickly.
True.
Um, so yeah, it's already been 2 days, and they have 72 hours to get this dose into Leo, who
Right.
is the child of Noah, who was 8. And you can see all the wheels turning in Rory's head as she's hearing all this.
Yeah. And I mean, it takes the turn that you kind of expect it to, where she finds at least momentary reasons to keep going and to help here. And in some ways, maybe it's a way to, for in her mind, make up for where she's feeling like she wasn't able to save her own daughter. So it is a little bit of a pass the baton and pass the like, you got to get the cure to the kid in time. I don't know that the timeline totally makes sense here because it feels like the brothers, to your point, I don't think they got there by horse. So how were they able to get there that quickly? But and going through that forest, which is incredibly dangerous. I mean, I guess we are supposed to surmise that they use the blood since he then uses it on Rory to get her through and explains that it'll throw them off. But still seems like a pretty quick adventure given all the things they have to pull off. So and then on the way back, I do think that there's some pretty interesting elements that they threw in with Otto giving Noah the adrenaline and being like, you'll know when to use it. And there's like the full expectation somehow that Noah's not going to make it through. So I think that in some ways they're setting that up pretty well, because he's in really bad shape. This is not any,
Yeah.
the wound that he has is just doesn't seem survivable. And so,
Yeah, and that lung fix, Otto did describe it as temporary,
yeah,
because yeah, and Mark Wahlberg had to open a valve every so often on his
yep,
own, and there's no valve
different
that we're
valve.
seeing on Noah's fix.
Right.
One of the things I did like is the number of times in this film they kind of reference some sort of providence that Rory is about to kill herself, then the horse distracts her, and then the horse is like following her when she's going to leave Noah on
Yep.
the riverbank, but then she turns around and picks him up, and she sees the dragonfly tchotchke on his backpack. And
Mm-hmm.
her daughter, I think, was really into dragonflies. She has a dragonfly lamp, and she's drawn this beautiful dragonfly picture that Rory still has on the refrigerator. Um, so I like the fact that they threw in enough of these things that are like breadcrumbs to keep Rory moving toward helping, even if it's not her first instinct. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh,
What is
agreed.
not cool is the fact that it's 2 years since that cold open,
Mm-hmm.
and the blood-stained mattress is still on
Yeah.
Maddie's
Well, there's
bed, and the
I don't know that they would have
blood-stained
done that.
rug.
It feels like something they would have
I feel like
gotten
Otto
later.
would have gotten rid of this
Yeah.
stuff. Like, he
Yeah.
must, I don't, maybe he's not allowed to go in there or something, or
Maybe.
it's just like Rory is way too wrapped up in it, but grief.
Yep. Well, good grief. Yeah, that was a little weird. Um, and yeah. So I did think that there were parts of this that I didn't mind that like I thought the storytelling was good. Thought the cinematography was good. I did think that the last act just took a little too long.
It takes
And
long and it also wraps up very fast,
yeah.
which is weird, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have expected. I do kind of like the way they end it. They don't show you if Leo is still alive. His grandmother is covered in blood.
Yeah.
But
That's not a
the
good
fact
sign.
that her body language when she sees the antidote, she like closes the door and hurries back inside. So presumably
Yeah.
it's okay, everything's fine. But yeah, her fight and flight through the forest is kind of crazy. That must have been hard to shoot. She's literally running through the forest at
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
And I don't know why she has a flashlight in her hand. She's not looking at the flashlight where it's shining. It's just kind of waving all over the place as she's running through the forest.
Right.
But
I thought that the night shots were kind of like, and again, I think that's why it felt like this last act was a little, so much of it is in the dark. It's kind of hard to see a lot of it. And it just goes on for way too long. I don't think you need too much of this to be able to get to where we got, where she's delivering the cure. And I don't think you need, I mean, we already know that if somebody, or at least we kind of have a sense that if somebody is like infected or they smell infected blood, that they're not gonna pursue you. So, I mean, I thought that was fine, but yeah, and it's interesting. They just kind of came full circle that they kind of the film ends sort of where we had her at the river again. So, and it was, this one moment where like I do the idea that she was going to go and save this little boy. And Otto basically was like, why would you do that? It's not your child. And she's like, well, isn't it? And a little bit of the idea that, well, if you don't do these things and basically help, then what's the point?
she's already asked him to
Right.
what are we doing here? And he's like, we're surviving. And she's like,
Right.
why?
Right.
So
So
I get it. Like I empathize a lot with that perspective, especially after what she's gone through. Even though she has this great person with her, Otto, that's she needs something else.
right. So anyway, I actually enjoyed this. I thought it was a nice little film. I enjoyed the cinematography. I think I would have liked a little bit more um like relationship character building. I think that would have been somewhat more helpful. It's a little thin, even her relationship with Otto and the relation and the interactions with Noah are just like based on very like minute little like pieces of information. And so I don't know, that part is I wish they had built that up a little bit more. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the scenery of this film. I wasn't bothered by the fact that they weren't hitting you over the head with what had happened because it was, to me, it was kind of obvious. But yeah, I didn't, I know that there was a lot of criticism about this, but I'm all right with this one. How did you feel?
I would give it like a 4 out of 5. I feel like it was entertaining. I think the zombie makeup was really strong. Of course,
Yeah,
they showed a
definitely.
lot of their zombies at night. In fact, all of them. Only her husband in the flashback is in decent lighting, and so is Maddie. And both of those zombies were incredibly freaky. So I thought the zombies were great. I think the few characters we had behaved in ways that were at least mostly believable, even if I do have some questions about, why they might have done things one way or another. I think where it was lacking potentially was in like fight choreography, although I will say the fight between Noah and Logan in the woods was very good.
Mm,
When they got into hand to hand and stuff. And like it was beautifully written in that Logan gets killed with his own stuff, right? Like I like that. I like that kind of symmetry or the irony of this
yep.
guy getting electrocuted by his own shock baton,
Yep.
and then jumped on by zombies. So yeah, like where it falls down is in places that I think are completely understandable, considering it was a fairly low budget film, paid for by packaged food company proceeds, and I really respect that sort of approach. Like written and directed, first time film by this woman Jordana Stott.
Yeah,
Incredible, right? Can
I
you
was all
imagine?
right with this. I was all right with this.
Yeah,
I would watch other things. I think that and it's also to me really great that it was set in New Zealand. I loved watching
yeah,
the scenery kind of go by and have this set up like a Western. I thought this was
yeah.
really fun.
I kept expecting to see Legolas run by in the background somewhere. Yeah,
Maybe just
that
some hobbits.
no, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So I'm glad we got to see it. And like I think you were going to say you would watch something else that this
Yeah,
woman puts together, and I agree with that. I would too. And
yeah,
hopefully she likes zombie movies so much that she wants to do more of them.
yeah, I hope so. So if you liked this film, let us know. Send us an email, reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. And thanks so much for listening.
I think Cold Storage sounds like a good choice. Get a little Liam Neeson and other famous actors whose names I cannot remember at the moment. But let's check that out. If you have seen Forgive Us All, let us know what you thought of this film. Would you go back for seconds or not? Watch out for those JEMA agents.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.